Welcome back to the Bryk Breakdown. I am Matt Bryk, your host. Today is Wednesday, July 5th. I hope everyone had a great 4th of July weekend. Today we're going to have some fantasy busts and the top 10 list. But first, let's get right into the news. Some good news first. Foster Moreau tweeted Monday that he is currently in full remission from Hodgkin lymphoma, which is just awesome to hear. It was, reported that a couple months ago that he had Hodgkin lymphoma, and now he's in full remission. And, he's expected to play for the Saints, so it's very exciting to see that he will be playing this year. There was a lot of ESPN firings. I'm going to go through the names. Jeff Van Gundy, Jalen Rose, Keyshawn Johnson, Max Kellerman, Susie Colbert, Chris Chelios, Matt Hasselbeck, Steve Young, Rob Nikovich, Neil Everett, Ashley Brewer, June Lee, LaFonso Ellis, Todd McShay, Jordan Cornette, Jason Fitz, and David Pollock. It's crazy. It's a lot of people. It's about 20 guys or 20 people being fired from ESPN. I saw the recent reaction from Stephen A. saying that he might be next. There might be a second wave of this, unfortunately, but hopefully those people will be able to find new jobs in the future. The Rams are signing former Steeler corner Akilo Witherspoon. Colts have waived Rashad Berry and Isaiah Rodgers. They were both indefinitely suspended for gambling in the NFL. The Titans defensive tackle, Demetrius Taylor, was also indefinitely suspended for betting on NFL games in 2022. The last guy that was suspended, Nicholas Frere, is suspended for 6 games for betting on non-NFL games. This whole betting thing has clearly been a topic of discussion this past couple of months or so. To put it simple, if you're an NFL player, you can't be betting NFL games. That's a huge no-no. But you can bet on non-NFL games. You just can't be at work when you're doing it. For example, at the team facility, at the team hotel during an away game, practice, anything like not on, the team's time. You can't be doing that. It's clearly still a problem, and the NFL has been cracking down on it. So we'll see where it goes from here. J.J. Watt announced that he is joining CBS Sports this season, so that'll be exciting to see him in some capacity in the media. And then the NFL blames the players for slipping in the Super Bowl for wearing the wrong cleats. That's just ridiculous. There were plenty of players slipping in that game, too many. I hate talking about this because it was so long ago, but obviously the Eagles were changing their cleats so much during the Super Bowl, and yes, both teams played on that field, obviously, but I just don't think it's fair to blame the players for slipping for wearing the wrong cleats when it's obvious that that field was not in the best condition to play football in. All right, that's the last time I'm going to talk about that. All right, today we're going to talk about fantasy busts. So let's get right into it. We're going to start with quarterbacks. My first bust candidate for quarterbacks is Dak Prescott. I think that Dak Prescott's just going to have a down off year this year. I feel like he hasn't been playing. He has been progressing, which at this point in his career he should be. And I think last year he did not play to the best of his ability. I think he kind of regressed a little. And I think that this upcoming year will be a regression for Dak. I just don't think that he will be playing to the best of his ability, and his current ADP in fantasy football right now in a 12-man PPR league, according to Fantasy Football Calculator, is 7.07. I'm staying away from Dak this year. I just don't think he's gonna perform as great as he should. Second quarterback candidate is Daniel Jones. I'm just not a believer in Daniel Jones. I don't think he's that great of a quarterback. I guess we'll see what he does this year. He now has Darren Waller, but he still doesn't really have, an alpha wide receiver, in my opinion. I mean, obviously he has Saquon Barkley to throw the ball to, but other than the fact that he can run, I just don't see him doing. He can have an average year, that's fine, but I just don't think he's going to break out or have an amazing year. I think there's more on him busting than doing better, than booming, if you will. Kyler Murray. Daniel Jones's ADP is 10.09. That's decent value. That's fine, but I don't know if he's going to be exceeding that value or doing just that value. I think I'd rather take someone else. Kyler Murray, his ADP is 12.01. This team's not going to be great this year. Unfortunately, they're, as of right now, probably the betting odds to be the worst team in the NFL. Kyler Murray, probably going to lose DeAndre Hopkins. You now have Marquise Brown. It's just been frustrating. Now you lose your head coach. You now have Jonathan Gannon. But it is what it is. His ADP is 12.01. I don't know if I said that already. I'm not betting on the Cardinals this year. They're not going to be a great team. So I don't think Kyler Murray, and that's fine value, like 12.01. That's pretty good. But I just don't know if anyone's going to be willing to pull the trigger on that. All right, wide receivers. The obvious one is Jameson Williams because he's being suspended for 6 games for violating the gambling policy in the NFL. So I'm going to stay away from that. I mean, that's just a given. But I'm going to talk about Deebo Samuel. I think Deebo Samuel can totally be a bust candidate this year. He's getting older. I'm not a believer in Brock Purdy. I've said that time and time again on this podcast. I'm not a believer in Sam Darnold either. I'm not a believer in Trey Lance. I'm not a believer in the 49ers quarterbacks right now. And I just don't think that at 3.06 at ADP for Deebo Samuel is an unbelievable value for someone that is getting older and has a quarterback that has been hurt and has only played 9 games. I can totally see Deebo Samuel being a bust this year. Number 2, I have Chris Godwin. ADP is 4.01. This is kind of similar. He's kind of getting older. I'm not a believer in Baker Mayfield, and I'm not a believer in Kyle Trask. He can prove me wrong. I mean, I'm not. It's not that I'm, doubting Chris Godwin's talent. I'm doubting Baker Mayfield and what he will be bringing to the table in this Bucs offense. If you look at Baker Mayfield the last year, he started with the Panthers, didn't do that hot, obviously, and then he got traded to the Rams. Pretty sure. I don't know. I don't think they cut him. I think they traded him. And yeah, obviously he did decent with the Rams. He kind of woke up and started playing football, but I don't know about this Buccaneers team. I don't think they're going to be that great of a team, so I'm not betting on Chris Godwin in fantasy football this year, especially when you're getting him in the 4th round. Like, I feel like there's just other better commodities out there to draft. Someone else. Oh, Michael Pittman, ADP 4.06. He now has Anthony Richardson as his quarterback. Unfortunately, I don't know how many quarterbacks Pittman's been going through. I'm sure he started with, I don't even know who he started with. He had Matt Ryan. I'm sure he had Wentz. Now Richardson, and I'm sure someone before that I'm just not remembering, because Colts quarterbacks are, kind of different every year, unfortunately. But, yeah, I think with Anthony Richardson being their quarterback, I feel like he's going to run the ball a good amount. And I think that knowing Shane Steichen, who was the Eagles offensive coordinator last year, I think he will be trying to mold Richardson into what Jalen Hurts is right now, getting him to run, running the ball a good amount as well to Jonathan Taylor. So at 4.06, I just don't think Michael Pittman will be getting that value there. Let's see. Oh, Terry McLaurin at 5.08. I'm just not a believer in Sam Howell at all whatsoever. Jacoby Brissett, you can talk me into, but let's say Brissett plays, I don't know, maybe 8 games. I don't even know if that's worth the amount at 5.08 for Terry McLaurin. It's not enough. Sam Howell, in my opinion, is not the guy. I don't think he's going to do so great with Washington, and I don't think him and McLaurin are going to be that great of a connection. My fear is that, there's a new owner involved in Washington now, and that I feel like they're going to try and kind of force this Sam Howell situation. I don't know yet. That's just my gut call. If that's the case, if you've watched this podcast before or listened, I have the Commanders going 0-17 this year. I'm not a believer in Sam Howell. That's only if Howell plays the whole year. I mean, if Brissett plays, I'm sure they can win a couple games, but I don't know. I just have a feeling that Howell's going to play the whole year. That's just my gut call. Last but not least for wide receivers, Brandon Cooks at 7.08 ADP. I don't know. Brandon Cooks has just been traded. I don't know how many times or how many different teams has he been on. The answer is too much, and I think he's just. I don't know. I understand that CeeDee Lamb is there in Dallas, and I understand that Cooks now there and Michael Gallup. I just don't think Cooks is as hype as people think he is. Yeah, I don't believe that he's worth the value at 7.08. He's not there for me, so I have Cooks as a bust candidate. Running backs, the obvious is Alvin Kamara at 5.10. He hasn't been suspended officially yet, but I believe his court date is at the end of July, to my understanding, end of this month. So once that is all settled, people are expecting a 6-game suspension due to the assault and battery, I believe it was, in Vegas during the Pro Bowl last year. So that's the obvious bust candidate. But I have other ones here. Number 1, I have Najee Harris, ADP of 2.06. This is a toss-up, obviously. I mean, obviously he could totally ball out. Would not be surprised if that happens for Harris. But on the other side, if he were to get hurt, or maybe Jalen Warren starts to get some more carries, then I think Harris might not be the 2nd round pick that's worth it. He might not perform at that ADP. This one's a surprising one, but I think it's totally very, very possible. Travis Etienne at 2.08. I think that since they just drafted Tank Bigsby out of Auburn, I think Bigsby will be splitting the carries with Etienne, and I feel like people are drafting Etienne as if he's going to be the bell cow in Jacksonville, when I just have a big, strong feeling that Doug Peterson is going to go and split these carries right down the middle, and I think Tank Bigsby is going to shock some people this year in fantasy football. Ramondre Stevenson. And this is another one that can totally, he can have a great year. I just think that the history of the Patriots running backs, they've always had a committee. God forbid you fumble, you're done. That's just how Belichick works. His current ADP is 2.10. I don't know. There's just something about, and I'm not denying Ramondre Stevenson's talent. He's a very talented running back in the NFL. But I just think that with his style of running, he kind of runs like a bowling ball. He reminds me of a LeGarrette Blount. I feel like he kind of forces the contact. And I think that scares me as a fantasy football manager, because I think when you start to force the contact and you run into these guys, you are going to get hurt. Someone who did that was Chris Carson, running back for the Seattle Seahawks. He got hurt many times simply because he was forcing the contact. He was running into guys purposely. And I forget what his major injury was. That was announced last year. He, that he's done probably. Like, he's probably never going to play again because of his numerous amounts of injuries. But the last one was career-ending, basically. So, hey, this is a hot take, I guess. But I just think that with the way Ramondre Stevenson plays football, it's concerning, because I think the way he runs and when you're hitting guys like that and trying to break tackles, I think it's just a little scary to watch because he can get hurt. This one, Breece Hall, I think this one makes sense because he tore his ACL last year. His current ADP is 2.10. I'm not expecting him to exceed that ADP. I'm not expecting him to do just that ADP, 2.10. I'm expecting him to do less simply because after an ACL tear, it's very difficult to come back from that. It normally takes a year to be able to come back from it. And there are also rumors that Dalvin Cook might also go to the Jets. No news on that yet, but I will be talking about that as soon as it happens. If Dalvin Cook goes to the Jets, then obviously Breece Hall's ADP will go down, and people will start talking about Dalvin Cook and the Jets, which I think would be a great situation for the Jets this year. So, but we'll keep an eye on that. Next guy I have is Javonte Williams. Same situation. His ADP is 4.09. Tore his ACL last year. People are kind of down on him. People are really high on Samaje Perine. Totally understandable. It's simply because of the ACL tear. Once you tear your ACL, it takes at least 1 year for you to of playing. When I say that, I say you have to play another year of football again, because people, they can re-injure. There's so many different possibilities, but you also need to get back to playing football again, and then you need to stay healthy, and then you need to stay healthy for the next year for you to actually be ready. What comes to mind when I think about what I'm discussing is Adrian Peterson. When he tore his ACL, and he's the only one that I can think of because I don't know who else has done it. I'm sure it hasn't been done a lot, but Adrian Peterson, he tore his ACL. He came back and then was an absolute monster, which is just unheard of and ridiculous. So not everyone is Adrian Peterson. And I think that's why I have these guys as bust candidates because they were hurt last year. All right. Tight ends. I have David Njoku, current ADP at 809. That's a fine value, whatever. I think I'm just less interested in these tight ends because of the risk you're really taking. There's better guys out there at 809, probably. But I'm not quite sure what Deshaun Watson's going to be this year. I mean, he's kind of missed a good amount of time. Having said that, he is now having having a full offseason with the team, practicing. We'll have the camp this year. But I don't know. I think you now have Amari Cooper, Elijah Moore, Cedric Tillman, they just drafted. Donovan Peoples-Jones, I'm pretty sure is still there. I'd have to look that up, but I'm pretty sure he's still there. And you want to run the ball with Nick Chubb. And you have Njoku, but I just don't. And I understand that Deshaun Watson, in his history, has thrown the ball to the tight end, but I just don't know. I don't know what year this is for Njoku, but he has not had a year for me to be like, yeah, David Njoku, best guy. He's gonna be a top 5 guy, So I think I'm just out on David Njoku. Next one, Dawson Knox, 10.12 ADP. That's fine value, no problem with it. It's just that I feel like with what's going on in Buffalo, you have obviously Stephon Diggs, Gabe Davis, maybe DeAndre Hopkins, who knows? But for now, you have Diggs, Davis, Knox, and you have the rookie Don Kincaid coming in. And I think that Kincaid, who reportedly isn't doing so hot in practice and all that, but he might be able to take some catches away from Knox. I guess we'll see. Last but not least, Zach Ertz. His ADP is 13.12. I mean, that's the value is obviously not ridiculous, but he tore his ACL last year. I think he only played like 8 or 9 games. But yeah, I mean, again, once you tear your ACL, you need another year to recover, in my opinion. Plus, Zach Ertz is only getting older, so I'm out on Zach Ertz. All right, time for the top 10 list. Today we'll be doing the top 10 AFC quarterbacks. Coming in at number 10, I have Jimmy Garoppolo. He's just had a weird career, in my opinion. It's just been odd. He's gotten hurt a good amount of times. He's been playing hurt and not what you want in a quarterback. He's now the starting quarterback for the Las Vegas Raiders, and he might do just fine as a Raiders quarterback. Who knows? But having said that, he has gone to a Super Bowl. He did lead his 49ers to, I want to say 2 different NFC championships. I think that's right. And I think they lost one. I don't remember. But I think that there's a little bit of hope with him and the Raiders. Now you have him back with Josh McDaniels, who was with him during his career with the Patriots. So I guess we'll see. He might excel with the Josh McDaniels offense. Number 9, I have Tua Tagovailoa. He got hurt last year a good amount, and he has been hurt a good amount of times, unfortunately. But with the games that he played last year, he played very well. And I think that this year is going to be Tua's season. And don't sleep on Tua Tagovailoa. I think he's going to shock people this year. And I think that people are too scared to draft him in fantasy football simply because of his injuries last year, which is understandable. But I'm really excited to see him play this year and hopefully win some fantasy football leagues because I will be drafting Tua Tagovailoa as my backup just so I can shock the world with him. Number 8, Trevor Lawrence. Trevor Lawrence had a great year last year. He had a very abysmal rookie season, which is okay for quarterbacks. But what's important is the progress. He's made progress. And I think this year he will continue to progress and we'll have another great year. Yeah, it's very exciting to watch. Trevor Lawrence, number 8. Number 7, I have Deshaun Watson. I had Watson lower, but I changed him because I looked at some stats. Watson has missed, a year and a half, basically, in his career, unfortunately. But, that's simply because of the legal actions and all that, and, that had to happen. And, but now it's just like, did he miss too much time? Like, that's what I'm thinking of. Like, did he miss too much time? Because in the NFL, you got to be able to stay with the league and, like, that's a whole thing. Being able to keep up with the league. And I don't know if Deshaun Watson has. I think we'll find out more this year. I don't know. I have him at 7 because he did great on the Texans, obviously. But now that he's a Brown, will he be that guy again? I guess we'll have to see. Number 6, I have Aaron Rodgers simply because the man has won MVP a good amount of times. I think he won it back-to-back 3 years ago. He's still one of the best quarterbacks in this league, obviously. I know he's gotten older, but I think it's just not fair to, discredit him because he's still one of the best in this league. Now he's on the Jets, and I think he will do well with the Jets. He now has Nathaniel Hackett back. He brought some of his boys from the Packers, like Alan Lazard, Randall Cobb. I think there's more that I'm forgetting, and you also have Garrett Wilson and Breece Hall. You might be getting Dalvin Cook. It's looking great for Aaron Rodgers, so that's why I have him at number 6. Number 5, Lamar Jackson. If you've listened to the show, my only concern with Lamar Jackson is his throwing and his accuracy. I think he's great at running the ball. He's phenomenal at it. He is just exposing guys left and right. But when he throws that ball, it's just like, okay, it's nothing. To me, it's just average. Like his accuracy isn't amazing. And he has great connection with Mark Andrews. That's fine, but at the same time, he hasn't had the best wide receivers to throw to. I think that's a great argument. This year, he now has Zay Flowers, Rashad Bateman, Odell, so I expect him to do better. I mean, he has the guys to throw the ball to. He just kind of has to make it happen. Number 4, I have Justin Herbert. I just think he's a more accurate passer. I think he's a great quarterback. He's young. He's turned this Chargers team around. Unfortunately, he has a horrible coach to coach him. But he just got Kellen Moore as his offensive coordinator, so I hope that helps him succeed this year. That's why I have Justin Herbert at the 4th spot. Number 3, I have Joe Burrow. Joe Burr. Joe Cool. All the different nicknames. Joe Burrow is an excellent quarterback. What can I say? I mean, he's him and Jamar Chase, him and T. Higgins, Tyler Boyd. they're an electric offense, and I think that Joe Burrow is just obviously one of the best, not only in the AFC but in the league, and he's just very exciting to play. He got to the Super Bowl. Unfortunately, it didn't go out the way he wanted it, but man, I just think that this year he might get back there. Number 2, I have Josh Allen. Josh Allen is just so fun to watch. He's unbelievable. He can run the ball. He makes some unbelievable throws that get caught. Very fun to watch. I mean, you can't get enough. I can't get enough Josh Allen. He's spectacular. He has that X factor in him. He's got that dog in him. Yeah, you can't go wrong with Josh Allen. Number 1 is obvious. Patrick Mahomes has now won 2 Super Bowls in the past 4 years. I want to say that sounds about right. That could be wrong. I don't know. I think that's right though. Yeah, I mean the no-look passes, the running, the number of flags they get. Yeah, they tend to get a lot of flags their way, in my opinion. But we're not going to talk about that. We're going to talk about Patrick Mahomes. Obviously, he's the guy to knock off, like Joe Burrow said recently. He's that great of a quarterback, but you never know. Maybe someone will dethrone him this year. I guess we'll have to see. That's going to end it here today. We'll end it with the quote of the day. Today's quote of the day is, "Courage is know what not to fear." Plato. That's going to end it for today's show. Thank you for listening. Please like, subscribe, comment, follow, review. Follow the podcast on Twitter at Bryk Breakdown, at BRYK Breakdown. You can follow on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook. We're on TikTok. You can follow my personal Twitter at BryckMatt, at BRYK Matt. Thank you so much for listening, and have a great day.